are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation or Stewart Title. Before you make any investment, you can seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
When it comes to real estate, everything matters. Whether you're a realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title is here to inform, entertain, and inspire you. Host Bill Knapik from Stewart Title will talk with guests about what really matters when it comes to owning, buying, and selling real estate. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title starts right now. Here's your host, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Bill Knapik. We're excited to be here with this adventure. The purpose of our show, those of you that are tuning in, this is a show that will be on 1 o'clock every Saturday. And the purpose of the show is 3 pillars of purpose, and that is it's to inform, entertain, and inspire. And we will be talking, as the announcement said, about real estate matters, things about real estate and your home, and the things that matter to you as a homeowner or someone going through a real estate transaction or considering a real estate transaction, listing a home, buying a home, the transaction, and we'll have some special segments and guests along the way, and even some breaking news as we go forth. We will have guests and have guests today that have a particular expertise in all those things that I had just mentioned. And I also want to take this opportunity to say that if you're out there listening and you have a particular expertise in real estate or something affiliated with real estate, feel free to contact me at bill.knapik with a K, Knapik, at stewart.com. So we're so glad to be here. Today we're going to look at how a title company works, and specifically Stewart Title. That's the company I work for, and many of us here today work for Stewart. Now, as you may know, Stewart has over 30 offices in Houston, closing real estate transactions all the time. There's some being closed as we speak. We do business in about 80 countries with escrow services, and we have offices all over the United States and in some other countries. A fact that people may not know about Stewart Title, we're in business over 120 years and started right down the road in Galveston, Texas. A man named Mako Stewart started the company and founded it in about 1893 in Galveston, Texas history. We're very excited about that. As the timeline, when we look at those old dates, 1893, Houston was incorporated. Those of you that are listening and live in Houston is incorporated in 1837, and then Galveston was incorporated in 1839. What an interesting timeline. Another thing, I don't know about you listeners out there or the guests in the studio today, but I like words and I like names, and I wonder where words come from sometimes. Sometimes I actually take a minute or two out of my day to think about that. Stewart, as I thought about Stewart Title, the company I work for, I thought, where did that name come from? It is an occupational Scottish surname. So meaning that years ago somebody was a steward and their last name became Stewart. They were a steward of perhaps an estate, or the major domo, the routine of that estate. Stewards of the transaction. Well, what that means to us today in Stewart Title is we are stewards of your real estate transaction from the moment it hits our desk or computer, and as long as we help you protect your real estate investment as long as you own the property. Now, if you drive around Post Oak, you may have seen, or if you're at, like myself, this last Thanksgiving, and I've been there, 5-6 years now. I don't miss it. But the fireworks there at Post Oak. But as you're driving around going to the restaurants, you'll see some of those Stewart buildings. Know that that is the epicenter. That's our corporate office worldwide for Stewart Title, right there in Post Oak, Galleria area. Last thing about Stewart. About a year ago, we were announced on the Texas legislature as a Texas treasure. So we indeed are tied to Houston and Texas history, and we're proud of that. Now, you heard the announcer say, your host, Bill Knapik. That's me. You might be saying, Bill Knapik, who is that guy? Well, just a few brief notes about myself. I am a business development officer for Stewart Title and focus on the Post Oak market, Kirby, and the Heights, along with Lynn Stryker and Reich Matlock. How about those two names? Sounds pretty intense. Well, we develop business in those areas. Prior to Stewart Title, I had worked for a company as a business development officer for Church and Dwight for 14 years. Now, many of you may not know Church and Dwight, but I believe you do. Church and Dwight is the name of the company, but most people know it by their logo that has really caught on. They're called Arm & Hammer by some people. It's also a company that's been around about 170 years. Worked for the Specialty Products Division. I also have a real estate license since about 1998. It is a non-active license, but nonetheless, I've been around real estate and been very interested in it. You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm your host, Bill Knapik, and our guest and first guest today is Betty Warren, Vice President, Director of Residential Sales, and our executive producer of the show. Also, unbeknownst to her, she'll be the subject of a book that Lynn Stryker and myself are going to be coming out with in about a year or sooner called Don't You Just Love Betty? Betty, thank you for being on the show. Before we say anything, just real quick, just to give the listeners an idea, we also have our technical expert, Heidi Crenshaw, Mr. Tom Carpentier, Michelle Steffen, and Tom is the president of Stewart Specialty Insurance, Michelle Steffen, sales manager of Stewart Specialty Insurance, Claudia Huerta, the branch manager of Post Oak, Ulises Vidal, Laura Deyo is a business development officer also, and Mr. Kevin Hollister from Republic State Mortgage. Again, our first guest, Betty Warren. Betty, thank you for being on the show, and welcome. How are you doing today?
Truly wonderful, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Betty, would you tell the listeners what you do for Stewart Title?
Well, I have the best job in the company. I'm the Director of Residential Sales. In that capacity, I have a group of 16 on our sales team. We work in Harris, Fort Bend, Brazoria, Montgomery, Galveston, and Waller counties. Our job is to provide a resource to our customers, that being realtors, lenders, and attorneys. My job is to be a resource to the sales team, provide them with some training and some motivation.
Well, you've certainly motivated me. When we first met and we got to talking about the title, and some people, one of the things about our show today, you'll see a lot of the components, and not everything. It's not exhaustive, but we're looking at a title company, and today our title company, there's a lot of things about a title company. And when I first talked to you, Betty, we talked about the Stewart Title, and you referenced a dream that really inspired me, and I thought, boy, I wouldn't have thought about that with a title. What is that dream that you referenced, if you would share with the listeners?
Well, like most people, I love what I do. I love who I work for. And one of the reasons is because we get to experience people achieving the American dream. We get to preside over the transactions where somebody buys their first home and they're real excited, or somebody buys their third or fourth home and they're getting rid of the lawn and downsizing. They're realizing the American dream too. But it actually goes a little bit deeper than that. Those of us in real estate, in particular, those of us in the title industry, we get to work close to the heart of capitalism. We get to work where, land and all it contains has been the single most important factor in the development of our civilization. And the partnership that comes between the title company, the lender, and the buyer is just absolutely important. Without the title policy, most lenders would not feel comfortable advancing the money for the family to buy the home. The lender wants to be sure there are no outstanding liens or defects in title. So that's where the title industry comes in. We get to insure that title and insure the owner and protect them for as long as they own the property or their immediate heirs.
That's great. And also, as you mentioned at the beginning of that, you mentioned all these milestones of people's lives. And that too is,
yes.
I think, is exhilarating. As I know, prior to my experience with Stewart Title, I was just a guy when it was time to close. Where do I sign? The thousands of papers, and I'd go down the road. But I didn't really see how that title company tied and protected me, as you just explained. Very, very exciting. As we're here at the first part of 2014, when you, in retrospect, looked a little bit back to 2013, were there any items in the real estate forefront that you found unique in your experience with Stewart Title as you were out there and had your business development people? What struck you as we look back to 2013 just for a second?
Well, on a very personal level and local level, Stewart was celebrating its 120th anniversary all year. And so we were having a good time talking about Stewart and the history. But as far as the business climate goes, it was an absolutely spectacular year. As the oil field heated up in the west and the south part of Texas, a lot of jobs, a lot of skilled workers were sucked away and taken out into other parts of the country, leaving openings for new people to move in. As those new people move in, there's more housing opportunities and more opportunities for people to take jobs.
Right.
So we saw the number of closings dramatically increase.
And it's been very competitive as we hear about the job market, people getting several offers from different companies. So, and I think that's been in the news as well lately. When you look at 2014, what are you seeing as the excitement or some of the highlights?
More the same. If you look on the national level, they say that the economy is a little sluggish and may not really kick in until 2015. But when you look at the license plates sitting around you at a red light, you see out of state. That means people are still moving in. People are still looking for jobs. The medical center here in Houston, the Port of Houston, just thank your lucky stars every day you're in Houston, Texas. It may not be quite the fireworks that we had in 2013, but it is going to be a wonderful year for us.
Sounds like it's going to be exciting. Betty, also, online transactions. In one of our commercials, we know that online transactions are what people are looking for in the real estate transaction. Is that true? And what is an online transaction, briefly?
Well, it's just like looking at your bank account. Stewart has a proprietary program that we've been using for about 13 years that allows a buyer or seller, any party of the transaction who has been granted a password, to access their file. There's no fee for it. It's just a way for them to look in and see where am I in that closing process and actually look at the documents.
That sounds pretty exciting. We're coming up on a break. We'll be right back with Betty Warren. You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title.
Most people don't know that Stewart offers business, home, and auto insurance. In fact, Stewart Specialty Insurance has been doing that and more for over 10 years. And they partner with many leading insurance companies to offer great rates. They're a national insurance agency operating in all 50 states, delivering a broad range of insurance products. Whether you need a home insurance quote for a client's home closing or your own insurance needs, you can count on them. Visit StewartSpecialtyInsurance.com or call 866-845-4676. Stewart Specialty Insurance is here to help.
Welcome back to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm your host, Bill Knapik. We're talking to Betty Warren, Vice President of Residential Sales for Stewart Title. We're talking about online transactions and those benefits. Betty, you said it sounds like a very convenient thing for anyone involved in the transaction. Is there anything else you want to talk about on the online transaction subject?
Well, I think in our world today, everyone's looking for instant information. And with Stewart Online, whenever you think about at 10 o'clock that you wonder if your survey's arrived and if you can take a look at it, you just sit down at your computer or look at your iPhone or your iPad or Android and take a look at it.
We're going to be talking technology soon, too, and we'll weave that in. Lastly, as you manage such a wild and woolly group of salespeople, I think I'm being accurate, too. If you would give the listeners either involved in sales or sales management, how about one or two tips? What inspired you that got you through to be so successful last year?
Well, I think, that old saying about do what you love and you'll never have to work a day.
Oh, yes.
And I get to do what I love. I think the thing that's most important in sales is that you know what your customer wants, not try to know what they need, think that you know what they need, but through a series of questions, find out what your customer wants and then let them buy it from you, and you won't have to be selling.
Awesome. Well, Betty, thank you so much for being on our show. We have our second guest, Mr. Tom Carpentier and Michelle Steffen with Stewart Specialty Insurance. Tom is the president of that company, and Michelle is the sales manager. And our partner on the show, we're so glad to have you here, Tom and Michelle. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bill?
Well, so far, so good. Real excited to be here and see both of you. as I mentioned, and we heard the commercial for the specialty insurance. Now, Stewart is in the title business. We know that. But are you saying Stewart is in the insurance business? Say what?
We are. We're definitely in the insurance business. We write commercial and personal insurance. We are a national agency writing business in all 50 states. A lot of people don't realize that. We started the company 10 years ago. We're actually coming up on our company, part of Stewart's anniversary. It'll be 10 years in February.
Wow, that's exciting. Because I never thought about the insurance part of it, but certainly a very important part of real estate and home ownership insurance, no doubt about that. And when you have been doing this for 10 years and you look forward, what is the market that you're trying to reach and to go after? If people don't know, what are you all doing, and who are you trying to make sure that they know that Stewart Specialty Insurance is out there as a convenience for them?
Sure. Like we mentioned, we're a full-scale insurance agency. We're independent in that we represent over 100 different companies, insurance underwriters. So Stewart doesn't underwrite these types of insurance, but we are acting as a broker. Our main objective really is to offer insurance as part of the real estate closing, and then from there, a lot of different things fall off of that. But we're essentially here to be a value add for Stewart's customers and clients, and certainly bring convenience to the closing. As an example, we can write home insurance prior to the closing. We sit there to be a resource for clients. We know that on a large percentage of transactions, be it residential transactions or commercial transactions, real estate transactions, insurance is needed. So we've positioned ourselves to truly be a resource and an insurance resource for again our clients and customers.
Well, when we think about insurance, certainly we think home, auto, but are there other elements, other types of insurance that you're involved with?
Sure. We write professional liability insurance. Clients of ours, be it mortgage bankers or real estate agents or attorneys, they need a form of liability insurance to conduct the transactions, and we are probably the leading agency in the country for that. We insure quite a few of those clients, and then clients across the country.
So even things like boats, or people around Christmas may have received some expensive jewelry. Can that be insured?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Go. Maybe some people in this room got some of those big diamonds. Also, we know that there are many Stewart title offices around. Now, I know the one that you work at and I work at actually has like a little insurance shop right there, as people can walk in to Stewart on Post Oak at the residential title office there. There's actually a little insurance shop there, isn't there?
That's right. There at the Post Oak office. Our insurance operation is headquartered in Houston. We do, again, operate nationally, but when we've got a call center environment there with agents that are licensed to operate and conduct insurance services throughout the country. But what we're doing is we're expanding beyond that, because we know that there are needs for insurance resources at the local level. So the Post Oak office is our first foray into this, and where we opened a it's a storefront where clients and customers can come right up and speak, face to face with an agent.
I see. So if someone's having lunch or dinner at one of those restaurants, they can come in and ask for Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's I want to see the sales manager. You're going to come out there, Michelle, and talk to him.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I would be more than happy to.
Right there, it's super convenient there at Post Oak if you're around that area.
Indeed.
So. Now, this idea of the insurance shop that's right there at the Post Oak Residential, now, are there going to be others throughout the city here? You think that's going to follow suit?
Definitely. We're looking at areas to expand. Again, it's to be a resource nationally, and then locally here in Houston is going to be our first area where we're going to expand and have some local presence in some of the offices across the country. First, serving areas that insurance is a little bit more difficult to place, and putting a resource out there,
wow.
A little more directly. For example, down in south of Houston in the coastal areas, we know there's trouble at times insuring properties on the coastal areas. So having a specific resource that our clients and customers can go to ahead of that closing to get the important information they need to, get the quotes and also, and place their insurance, I think that's going to be a real added value for clients of Stewart.
So as a homeowner, when's a good time to get a quote?
Well, if we're talking about specifically tied to the real estate transaction, a residential real estate transaction, the sooner the better. As soon as they see a house they may want to buy, they should go ahead and talk to an agent about the insurance costs tied to that home. But they definitely need to get a quote and get information on that property during the option period.
And then also for someone not going through a real estate transaction, how often do you think they should review their insurance, or should they wait till it's renewed, or throughout the year? When's a good time for the homeowner not going through the transaction?
Well, unfortunately, we see folks just waiting to renewal and really waiting to the last minute, and then they usually just roll right into the renewal without reviewing their coverages and
unless
pricing.
Unless you're listening to this show, maybe, right?
Exactly. It's always a good time if you haven't looked at your insurance. It's always a good time to look at it,
right.
But definitely look at it before or during the renewal process. There are tremendous insurance agents out there, across the city that can definitely help you and look at your insurance and make sure you're getting the right coverage and the right price.
So there could be a pretty dramatic pricing difference between company to company.
There's definitely can be, and in 2013, we saw some rate increases across this area and the country for that matter. So now more than ever is a good time to look at your coverages and pricing.
When we look at 2000, we're already into 2014. Do you see any highlights or things of note here, at least in Houston and Texas, that people should know about? Some news in the insurance world that would affect homeowners?
Sure. In 2014, we expect to see additional rate increases. So the cost of insurance and the cost of the cost of insuring a home is going to continue to rise. We like to talk about the fact, but the reality is that home insurance is cyclical, meaning it ebb and flows with different events. Right now we're still suffering due to catastrophic events that occurred across the country. For example, Hurricane Sandy that hit in 2013. Insurance companies paid out a lot for those claims, and the reality of it is they're a business and they're in the business of making some money, and they've got to maintain their margins. And so what we're seeing is probably for the first 6 months of 2014, probably seeing about another 3% increase on renewal rates.
Wow. Also, I would ask you, recently I've received a letter from FEMA. Mm-hmm. Now, that's one of those mail I get that I don't want to open, so I really haven't opened it. But with FEMA, aren't there some things going on there that the homeowner should know about? Well,
within the insurance world, in the property and casualty insurance world, that's really the elephant in the room right now when it comes to insurance. Many people may have heard of the Biggert Waters flood insurance reform. There's some major changes. Flood insurance is part of a national program, and we're beginning to, in this law that went into effect is changing things when as it relates to flood insurance. Folks are going to see higher premiums for buildings that are below flood elevations. People in the past have gotten subsidies for that and had been grandfathered in for that. Direct impacts will be those grandfathered rates will be phased out. Impacts will be for newly purchased properties, secondary homes, and businesses. So definitely, the one thing that's going on is the Senate is actually looking at this again this week. They were supposed to look at it last week, but they were delayed due to the things they're dealing with the unemployment payments. And so we look to them to potentially postpone these changes for the next several years. So definitely, we'll talk about this as we have additional shows, because again, this is a very important item when it comes to real estate, because it can certainly impact folks when it comes to their overall cost of their home.
Michelle, would you tell people how they can reach Stewart Specialty Insurance?
Absolutely. We've got online access, as well as you can reach us directly. Our website is www.stewartspecialtyinsurance.com, and our toll-free number is 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. Sorry, Bill.
But they could also come in and say hi to you, can't they?
Absolutely.
And you're the sales
I'd love
manager.
It.
Awesome.
I'd love it.
We appreciate that. You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, Bill Knapik, Tom Carpentier, and Michelle Steffen. We're here to talk real estate matters. We're here to talk insurance. We have some other guests coming up after the break. Boy, I recognize that song. We're glad to have you listening. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. We'll be right back.
Stewart Title has been serving Texas for over 120 years. A Texas treasure, Stewart Title's longevity is a testimony to superior service, innovation, and knowing what their customers want. Recent surveys show that 92% of respondents want secure online tracking tools to help them during the closing process. Stewart Title offers the most robust and secure system to track transactions online available today. To learn more, contact Stewart Title at one of their many offices around the city. Stewart Title, online at stewart.com. That's STEWART.com.
Welcome back. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Talking real estate matters that matter to you. We have a guest in the studio, Miss Heidi Crenshaw. And Heidi, at Stewart Title, I'm going to have her tell you a little bit more about what she does, but she is renowned as for her technical expertise at Stewart Title. And when we talk about technology, Heidi, I want to ask you the first thing. This whole electricity thing, you think it's around to stay?
Yeah, I think it's going to stay. It's catching on.
It's catching on. How about that? That's exciting. I'm just kidding. But when we talk about your technical role with Stewart Title, can you give us a brief description about that? What do you do for Stewart Title?
Absolutely. I, unlike, am a lot like Betty, but I'm going to disagree that I have the best job in the company with Stewart Title. I have the privilege of being the MCE instructor and technology trainer for all of the Houston Division offices.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. It is the best job, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
That's why you're smiling so much. Well, when we talk about technology and in this role, let's again look at last year just for a touch, and what did you see of significance in the role of technology, which is so part of all of our lives, but in the real estate world with realtors and even salespeople in the title company and other affiliates, what did you see that was like a highlight and maybe something that even surprised you in that last year?
It seems that every year technology continues to obviously move forward. It's kind of a moving target that we all try to chase. And with smartphones, tablets, iPads, Android devices, iPhones being at everyone's fingertips, they have access to information, accurate or not. They want instant gratification because they can actually gain it themselves. So what happens is that it's forcing real estate professionals to become more mobile to meet the demands and get back with their customers quickly.
Interesting. It helps in that communication. We'll be talking about that some more, too. Now, as we look at 2013, what are we seeing and what are you seeing from your technical eye for the future, 2014?
Well, I see what's happening with real estate is that we are all becoming more and more mobile because we're having to do things while we're out. Real estate is obviously something they're out with customers most of the time. They're not sitting in the office, so they're having to use their mobile devices. And so apps are becoming something that is an everyday use for real estate professionals to continue to do their business well.
Yes, those apps are all around us. And I talk about the future as we did with Betty and Tom, and I found a quote, and it says, all of us are fascinated by the future because that is where we will live the rest of our lives. That was said by Criswell, whoever that was. I don't know if you've heard that. But so we look ahead with this technology for realtors that are listening out there. What are the apps that you think the realtors that they need?
Well, I would think that it's going to be things that their customers are going to be contacting them about or a party to the transaction. So it would be important to be very familiar with an MLS app. A transaction management app would be another great tool to have. An app that will provide them with access to their customers' documents or things that they're going to call about. A zip forms app, and then probably a digital signature app at this particular
now,
time.
how about that Dropbox? Everybody has that, or we?
Yes, there's many apps that will actually accommodate all of the things that I just mentioned, and I'll just give you kind of a few of those just to put some out there. I think it would be a great idea and be most helpful if they all became in this area familiar with the HAR app so that they can gain access to the MLS. Right. There's a ZipForms mobile app, which gives them access to all of their forms and transactions online. They can get an in-person signature with that app as well. They can gain access to their digital signature programs. There's a DocuSign app that would be great. And then Dropbox and Evernote are great tools and great apps for them to put their customers' documents and be able to access them. And then as far as closing transactions, there's the SureClose app that will allow them to gain access to all of their closing transactions. Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you, personally, on your iPhone and iPad, what are the apps that you like that you find indispensable?
I would say personally, because I'm actually not a practicing real estate agent. I am with Stewart Title.
I just want to know your secrets, though. I know that. But.
I live and die by most of the ones that I just mentioned, but I definitely utilize Dropbox and Evernote most often because what people need from me is on my laptop, and I can't take my laptop where I'm going. So an app provides me with the ability to get access to that, forward it to them, and take care of their need while I'm mobile.
I see. And I know myself, one app I use, and like I said, I've got a license. I don't use it. I spend my time being a business development officer for Stewart Title and sometimes radio host. But one app I love is the one you mentioned, that HAR app, because when I'm driving around my own neighborhood, I'll press that app just to see what homes are listed at and what they've sold for. Or even if I'm in another part of town, I'm just curious, wonder what's going on here. So, yeah, I love that HAR app, too.
Yes, it's an unbelievable tool, and HAR constantly works to upgrade that and update it to be exactly what the real estate agents will need while they're mobile.
Now, you mentioned the MCE classes that you teach. Are there any that we should know about upcoming after the January 18th date?
Absolutely. We have several classes that are scheduled all throughout. We've got them scheduled all the way through December of 2014. The best way to find out about the classes that are offered in your area is to contact your local BDO, your business development officer for your Stewart branch, and they will be able to tell you what's going to be in your area. But we also have a Facebook page that you can visit that is Real Estate MCE Classes, if you want to search for that. And then on the stewart.com/Houston, there's also a link to any education courses that we have coming up.
Heidi, technology, I put a note down, and as I love technology, it's designed to make our life easier, right? But with so many things available, how do we keep our sanity? Would you give us a tip on that? How did you keep your sanity when this deluge of different things, technology, are happening and are right before us?
I don't keep my sanity. That's
the secret.
But the truth is that the best tool is the tool you use, and you're only going to utilize it if there's a need. So I feel to find the best tools for you is you first need to define your needs, and then learn those tools that meet those needs very well. Put them to use in your business immediately, and you will be doing yourself a great service, because what happens is there's so many apps out there, and the one that I use may not be the one that's perfect for you. Right. So you have to know how you operate business and the one that works best for you. It's better when it comes to apps or technology to not try to be a jack of all and master of none, to really just master those that help you fulfill a need.
Heidi, thank you so much. How can people reach you?
You can reach me on my cell phone at 281-853-5530, or you can also email me at heidi.crenshaw@stewart.com.
Awesome. Let the phone calls begin. Heidi, be prepared. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And now we've heard the term Business Development Officer, BDO. We've heard that term here a little bit today already, and we have a guest in the studio that is a Business Development Officer, Laura Deyo. We're so glad you're here, Laura. Thank you for being here. And I understand you're from Katy, Texas. Is that right?
That's right, Bill. I work in the Katy area, which is about 25 miles west of where we're sitting right now.
How about that? And we've used this term, Business Development Officer. Can you highlight what that is and what you do as a Business Development Officer for this great title company, Stewart Title?
Sure. A business development officer really is out there to try and develop business. So I view my role as to be out in the community, meeting realtors, meeting lenders, and learning what's important to them, what is important to their success, and what's important in terms of what they are looking for in a transaction, and then kind of being that bridge between them and back to our office so that our office can understand if you don't know what a customer is looking for, then it's very difficult to exceed their expectations, which is always what we're trying to do.
That's your goal. So you see a lot of realtors out there in the Katy area.
Yes, we do. Katy's booming.
Well, that's exciting, too. So if there's a realtor out there in Katy that has not met Laura, you'll be reaching out to her. She's going to give her contact information in a little while. You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. We're here with Laura Deyo. And it sounds like your position, you've described this, it sounds like it's a real resource. And so the realtors actually use you as a resource out there in the marketplace?
That's right. What my goal is to be top of mind if a realtor has a question, whether it be about title or possibly about technology. As Heidi mentioned, realtors really need to learn how to use technology. It's also an interest of mine. And so I want to be, even if it's not a title matter, if it's an MCE class, I offer a lot of classes too, so education's a priority for me. But I like to be a person that if somebody has a question, they're not sure where to go, they give me a call, and I can connect them to someone who can give them the right answer.
That sounds great. As you live and work in Katy, is there any news in the real estate world out there in Katy that you'd like to tell the listeners? Anything going on that we should know about in Katy?
Well, I think the biggest change that I see in Katy in the 10 years or so that I've lived there is it started out more as a bedroom community. People, a very nice place to live, wonderful schools, and many, many people are moving to Katy because of the schools, and it's booming in terms of building as well. But now what I'm seeing is that there are many speculative office buildings that are being built in the area. And so I think people will soon have the opportunity not only to live in Katy, but also to work in Katy. About a month ago, Geico just announced they're bringing 1,000 jobs to the Katy area, and there are a number of other facilities under construction. Additionally, the Grand Parkway just opened from I-10 to 290, and that is going to mean a whole lot of new development in that area as well. So things are really happening and exciting in Katy. It's a great place to be.
Might be more lizards out there. Didn't Geico use that lizard or some kind of character?
I certainly hope not.
Oh, boy. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being on the show. How can people reach you?
People can reach me by calling me at 832-427-0641. That's 832-427-0641, or at laura.deyo, Deyo, at stewart.com.
Laura, thank you so much for being on the show. You're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title.
Thank you, Bill.
And you just heard Laura Deyo, Business Developing Officer out in Katy. And now, as we look at the title company, the title company, a title company, is I think like a fine timepiece. There are so many parts and things that have to be put together. And at the heart of that matter are the escrow officers. Today, in the studio, we have two of our fine escrow officers that get the best of reviews, and I would even say the Green Berets of escrow officers. They're right here, Claudia Huerta and Ulises Vidal. First, we're going to talk to Claudia. Claudia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're glad that you're here, and you have been serving customers for Stewart for a long time, and I know you get the best of reviews. Would you tell us, what do you owe that success to?
Well, Bill, I would have to say it's maintaining the loyalty with my customers from beginning to end, making them feel special and respected. Also, the importance of making promises and delivering in a timely manner to build that trust.
Well, I'll tell you what, in business and in life, that's one of the things I hate the most. If someone says they're going to do something and they don't do it, somehow you remember that more than when people actually do come through. So I try to be very careful to deliver what I say I'm going to do, and that's exciting to know that you do that too as your standard operating procedure. So would you, as we're going to look a little bit more at the title transaction with Claudia and Ulises, I want to remind the listeners that you are listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Titles and that title. And if you have a particular expertise in real estate, email me at bill.knapik Knapik, at Stewart.com. We're coming up on a break. We'll be right back with Claudia.
Get your motor running.
Stewart Title has been serving Texas for over 120 years. A Texas treasure, Stewart Title's longevity is a testimony to superior service, innovation, and knowing what their customers want. Recent surveys show that 92% of respondents want secure online tracking tools to help them during the closing process. Stewart Title offers the most robust and secure system to track transactions online available today. To learn more, contact Stewart Title at one of their many offices around the city. Stewart Title, online at Stewart.com. That's STEWART.com.
Most people don't know that Stewart offers business, home, and auto insurance. In fact, Stewart Specialty Insurance has been doing that and more for over 10 years. And they partner with many leading insurance companies to offer great rates. They're a national insurance agency operating in all 50 states, delivering a broad range of insurance products. Whether you need a home insurance quote for a client's home closing or your own insurance needs, you can count on them. Visit StewartSpecialtyInsurance.com or call 866-845-4676. Stewart Specialty Insurance is here to help.
We're back with Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Our guest in the studio is Claudia Huerta, branch manager of Stewart Title Residential on Post Oak and escrow officer supreme. Claudia, we asked you about your secret to success or one of your thoughts on success. I also want to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing or things that you do as highlighting those to make that transaction, the real estate transaction, go as smoothly as possible?
The main key is staying in communication with all parties involved in a transaction, as well as assuring that both my assistants are made aware of any changes or any amendments that come in before the closing.
Communication's key, huh? Mm-hmm. And like you said before, do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
Now, also, I noticed you came in with a big smile. And you must really enjoy what you do. We've heard people say that here on the show a little bit, but why do you enjoy what you do? And you have just such a beautiful smile.
Thank
beaming.
You. I do enjoy what I do. I enjoy meeting new people, but the best part about my job is that face-to-face interaction with clients and that great feeling that I get after every closing, knowing that I've helped someone to achieve one of their many goals.
And also, regarding the international segment of the market, we know you have bilingual capability. Have you found that helps in your real estate transactions?
Yes, definitely. Being fluent in the Spanish language has certainly helped throughout my career in the title business. That played a big role in getting my escrow officer experience. And in my opinion, it makes everyone happier when they know that there will be someone to assist in their preferred language.
Claudia, thank you so much for being on the show. And how can people reach you?
They can call me directly at 713-625-8651.
And what was that again?
713-625-8651.
Claudia, thank you so much for being on the show. Right, another Green Beret escrow officer from our Kirby office, Ulises Vidal. And Ulises also has command of more than one language. Myself, I can be silent in 7 languages. In the meanwhile, thank you, Ulises, for being on the show. Would you tell the listeners about the homestead exemption? As we've heard a little bit about the process of what makes a transaction go smoothly, would you tell us about the homestead exemption, how they file, and some of the timelines they need to think about it to make sure they get that exemption?
Absolutely, Bill. And it's a pleasure to be here, by the way. So in Texas, you have the ability to file a homestead exemption to reduce or get a tax break on your property taxes, which means you pay less property taxes every year. And the word homestead isn't commonly used by everybody, I'm sure, that lives in Houston or Texas. But it does apply for your house, or your home, actually, I should say, whether that's a house, a condo, or any other kind of place that you live in.
It's very important, right?
It's very important. And it's actually The right time of the year, so we're right on time. It's you have from January 1st through to April 30th to file the homestead exemption application. And the how is actually very simple. It's a very important step, but it's very easy. And the county, here in Harris County, they have a website, which is great, and it's very easy to use and navigate through. The website is hcad.org.
Okay.
That's hcad.org. You just look up the application under forms, and you're able to file it just by mailing it in, or you can stop by the county's appraisals district's office if you have any questions.
Now, we also have heard that you teach a contract to close class about the closing process to realtors. Can you give us a couple highlights about what you're talking about during those classes?
Absolutely. You have a buyer and a seller on every transaction. When they come to terms and actually agree on the terms via a sale contract, that contract makes its way to our office along with some earnest money, the majority of the time. And so we are the glue that holds the transaction together throughout the whole process until you have a closing at the very end where everybody signs some papers and walks away with smiles on their faces.
Well, the smiles are important, I'll tell you. And as I've seen the process, it's very precise work, isn't it?
It is. It is. I'm a very big numbers guy, and I work with numbers all the time. And I love it, but I also love the fact that I get to work with people, and every transaction is different. So we have to be very much on our toes.
Awesome. You too came in with a big Hollywood smile. What do you like about this precise work, Ulises?
Well, first of all, I love the company. Stewart Title is just a great company. It feels like working with family, and just being part of the American dream, being involved in that purchase for a homeowner is just it's a good feeling. You smile every day.
Very nice. Thank you, Ulises, for being on the show. We're so glad to have you, and glad to have you as part of Stewart Title. Listeners, you're listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, and we now have a segment here with Mr. Kevin Hollister with Republic State Mortgage, and Tom Carpentier with Stewart Specialty Insurance has joined us, and he's going to ask Kevin a few questions about what's going on in the mortgage. Gentlemen?
Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great to have you here. So, related to the mortgage industry, what effect will the new regulations have on the ability to repay and qualified mortgages? Have those had any impact at this point?
Well, as a matter of fact, last Friday or this past Friday, January 10th, that new regulation went into effect, and it really doesn't change a whole lot, except that we have more regulation on top of old regulations. So without getting too far into it, I'd like to say that the ability to repay, they're making sure that borrowers have the ability to repay, which is kind of what we were doing before after the subprime market collapsed in 2007 and the Alt-A market collapsed. I believe we got back to business at hand of income, assets,
right,
and qualifying borrowers. Now, some regulation that went through the pipeline in 2009 and 2010 is coming to fruition, and what has been corrected, I think, is they're adding to that on top of that. So there's a lot behind what is a qualified mortgage and the ability to repay. You're still going to do, as to the borrower and the customer, financing as usual, and to the lender and people in the lending business, there's going to be a lot more regulation and paperwork. So it's going to be the man hours to do a loan is going to increase, and I would say you're already have 2 or 3 times more man hours on a file than we did 5 or 6 years ago. So I think that this is already priced in. That means it's more expensive, but this is already priced into the rates.
I see.
Bigger companies are going to be able to forge through this easier. Smaller companies are going to have a harder time. But I think, all in all, it's business as usual.
Well, that's good. But with the rule changes, do you foresee any changes with financing options?
Financing options, you have the traditional options of conventional loan,
right,
FHA,
right.
VA, and USDA. Those are all still going to be in place.
Okay.
The new rules tighten up what we can offer a little bit, like interest-only loans or some, I guess, things having to do with arms and some other harder loans or what we would call subprime type loans out there are going to have a hard time because they're not going to be falling into what's called a qualified mortgage. And so anything outside of a qualified mortgage is going to have a hard time competing with a qualified mortgage in terms of rate. So what they don't want to see everyone doing good loans having to compete with these outside lenders coming in and offering these really easy high rate loans.
I see. So everybody wants to know where rates are going. They've been at historical lows. I'm excited to have the insurance, the interest rate I have today. So where do you see rates going in 2014?
Well, rates are up. They had an official low from September 2012 through April of 2013, and they have climbed up since in anticipation of the Fed making moves to quantitative easing. And I could get more into that, but
sure.
The Fed fund rate and how they manipulate that affects rates greatly. And so we know that the market and the economy is doing better, so that puts pressure on the Fed to pull back on their policy so that inflation is not too extravagant for the market. So they're going to be pulling back on the policy, and rates are starting to rise. And they have risen possibly at 1.25 points since last April.
Gotcha. That's great information. We appreciate having you here today.
Oh, thank you.
And how can people reach you, Kevin?
Well, Bill, they can reach me at 281-300-6935. Happy to talk with anyone and answer any questions you have about mortgages.
And would you give that number again, just as they got their pen out? I think someone just got their pen out. One more time on that number, please.
281-300-6935.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Hollister with Republic State Mortgage. We thank Kevin. We thank all our guests today. And I want to remind you here on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title that if you have an expertise in real estate and you'd like to participate in the show, email me, please, at bill.knapik, that's Knapik, at stewart.com. You can even call me at 713-210-9767. Again, 713-210-9767. We want to take this opportunity to thank the listeners out there and also to thank everyone at Stewart Title as we've got a little look at a title company and the different things involved, just a few things involved with the closing process. Again, like a fine timepiece, we see all this precise work come together for happy closings all over the fruited plain, but we thank everyone at Stewart Title and all the management. And I know that we also thank our executive producer, Betty Warren, all our guests here. As we look ahead to some further shows, we've got a lot of exciting shows. We can be heard again 1 o'clock Saturdays on 100.7 FM, this station, 1 o'clock on Saturdays. Be sure to tune in. Next week, we're going to be looking. I've done some research and found that according, I think it's U-Haul, I don't have the article in front of me, but they said that we are the #1 relocation city. So all those vehicles and trailers that they rent, they're all coming to Houston. I know I've seen quite a few of them. So we're going to talk relocation next week. After that, we've got some great shows. We've got shows about goal setting, some more things about inside, outside the loop. We'll be talking high rises, no low rises, but we'll be talking high rises, condo living, all these exciting things. In the city of Houston or wherever you're listening, you may just want to know what's going on here in Houston so that you can reproduce it. We've heard about insurance. Remember, get a quote on your insurance with Stewart Specialty Insurance. Tom Carpentier, Michelle Steffen are at your service at the Post Oak office. If you forgot their number, just come on in and say hi after you have lunch over there. And we, again, thank everybody. We're excited to be here. We'll look for you next week on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm Bill Knapik signing off. Thank you very much.